types and literals. Okay, in Java, data types and literals. Okay,
Okay.
so is the before that we already learned about identifier, correct? So what will be the our identifier and what type the identifier? That is means
Mm-hmm.
data types. We discussed what are the identifier can be in Java, can be class name, can be method name and variables name. Correct.
Correct.
So
Yes.
we know the rules of how to means how to define, how to write the data types. Correct.
Yes.
Sorry, identifiers. So now we're going to talk about the data types. So we going to learn data type, different data types in Java and literal, and their default values. Okay, this is very important. Remember, not for a programming purpose, but interview purpose. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So definition, see. So whenever we're defining our data types, the size of memory location and the range of data can be stored inside the data type variables. Okay.
Okay.
um, you can see if suppose you want to do some operations. Okay, so what type of operation? Suppose you want to do addition operation, we can do on the integer data only, correct? Digit only we can do, we cannot do operation on the boolean, correct? We cannot do operation on that string type of data, arithmetic operation. Okay, so those are important, means based on that only we need to define which type of uh, data type we should use for our programming. Okay,
Yeah.
so in the real world we have a different type of data, correct? Means integer, then floating number means some kind of the decimal point we have. Okay, and we have a characters and the boolean and string, those we have in a data types of in our data which can come in our programming language.
Yes.
Okay, so so we know this. We have a data types like a string. So defining some string variable, something. So we can do that through string character char we have, and then we have a integers, that is digit type. Okay. So those data we can do. So the important thing why we need this data type, most important thing, correct? So as I told you, we need to store some data as a temporarily in the through that. Suppose I'm writing some program, okay, so I define somewhere 20, okay, or something. I took some data from the user as an input. I'm putting somewhere. I'm writing my code. Okay, I'm performing my all the logic, but somewhere I have to put my data as a temporary. The data can I use anywhere, but the time of the execution I need this data should be available all the time of the execution. So that purpose we are defining our variables. For the variables, which type of data we're going to put. So the data will be the temporary basis in the through in our computer through the programs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a different type of data types in our Java programming language. Okay. The
Yes.
okay, the first one is called primitive data types. Okay. So primitive data types are a predefined the design to store the single values. Okay, and single values, I'll talk about this. Single values means suppose I define a 10. Okay, I cannot define 10 like I define a int I equal to 10. I cannot define same int 10 as well as 20 as well as 30. I cannot define. I can define only the single values like 10 only. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
can change, but suppose I'm defining, suppose I'm writing a 10 first, then I'm putting 20. So what will happen? 10 will override by the 20.
Okay.
Correct. So I cannot define two values. So I have a derived or reference data type. Okay, those are also predefined is to the multiples values like array. You know, array we can define a multiple values, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have user defined data types. So user defined data type means what happened? Like I created a class, okay,
Mm-hmm.
means, and there is a four attributes I can use, correct? Custom my user defined, okay. Then I have a, you know, the recently the Java 1.6 or 1.5 they introduced enum.
Yes.
So through enum we can define the word data, correct? Data type and data.
Yeah.
That is how we can use data type as a data type, okay. Then we have
Mm-hmm.
interfaces. Do you know interfaces we define our constant variables? So most of the time we define our constant variable, correct? So those are constant variable available in the interfaces. That means we can define an interface type data type. Okay, but
Yeah.
this whole learning is about primitive data types. Okay, we are not going to talk about much derived data types and the user defined. We'll go through those are actual concept, like a array is a concept. Okay, so we'll read separate modules in separate class. Similar, we'll read a class in interface, we'll read a separate classes. Okay, so these all
Mm-hmm.
about this primitive data types. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
So primitive data types, what are the data types we have in a primitives? We have a three data types in the primitives. So they have a differentiate like a first one numeric data type, second one is character data type, and third one boolean data type. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Numeric means we can define the digit character. Okay, so numeric we have two types. First one integer. Okay, second one floating point data types.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Boolean data type we can define only true and false. Character we can define as something character. Okay. Even we can define a set of characters also. We're going through that. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So remember this important point. Okay. Means uh, what are the data types we define? They'll take some memory. Okay. So in Java, minimum memory size would be 1 byte.
Okay.
Always. You cannot define less than 1 byte. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So numeric data types represented the integer like a byte data types. So you know Java we have a different other data types. Okay, those important things. Byte data types can have a size 1 byte. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
max value 127 and minimum value 128. We cannot take more than 127. Okay, if you suppose I'm defining byte, okay, then I put it like a 130. That is wrong. Okay, we cannot do that. If we're defining some
Okay.
variables as a byte, so we cannot assign 120 30 means more than 127 we cannot define. Minimum is a 128 minus. Okay,
Yep.
so see, so I can, for example, byte B 127, that is correct. 100, that is also correct because it is an under range. Okay, the second one I'm defining like uh, 130, that is wrong, as I told you, because this is out of the range. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one,
Yeah.
suppose you see 13.33, I cannot take this as an integer, this is not a floating point.
Yes.
Okay, so I cannot define this also. This is also wrong. Suppose I'm defining true, that is also wrong. This is integer value. We cannot define true false. Boolean value cannot define. Okay.
Yep. Got it.
So this is important thing. See, uh, called like a zero means positive and the one means negative. If you see this one, the range we have. These are data type, integer data type. Okay. So we can define
Mm-hmm.
like a minus also. Integer can be minus. Okay,
Yeah.
so zero
Yep.
in a bitwise, what we see, zero means positive, one means negative. We'll go through this later point means. Okay,
Yeah.
similar we have a sort data types. Okay, So byte, how much? What is our size? One byte, 8 bits. One byte means 8 bit, obviously. And range is 127 to 128.
128,
Oh, sorry,
120.
minus 128 to 127. Okay.
Yeah.
So for the sort, similar we have, it is a 2 byte. Okay, means 16 bit.
Mm-hmm.
The range is
Yeah.
minus 32768 to 32787. Okay,
Okay.
from the start from the minus. And that as I told you, we cannot define more than their range. Okay, so suppose for example I created a sort and I can define more than 127. What we can do in a byte, we cannot define more than 127, correct? But we can use somewhere we need more than 127, so we should use short. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
32787, that we can define here. That means more than 127. Okay,
Yes.
but suppose you want to define like a 32789, so that we cannot define here, correct?
Yeah.
Because we cannot take, so like we have an example, we cannot define 32790, correct? Even we cannot define 327.90 because it's not a decimal, and we cannot define true or false for the sort. Okay, that's also wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, mostly in Java we not use this sort. Very rarely. I don't know which cases they're going to use. Might be some programmer are specific to use this. They know about their length. Okay, their data is not going to take more than this range. So then only they're going to use this sort. Otherwise, I don't. There is no uh, means see, we have a range, below range, byte, correct? I'll tell you when we need to use the byte. That this sort, I don't think so people will use most. It's very rarely used. Okay, and
Okay.
and the byte when we use, suppose we're doing something file reading. We have a IO concept in Java. So when reading the file, so we one by one reading the files. Okay, so that moment, the file reading, we use the concept of the byte data type. Okay, but short
In
is
in
not.
general, in general, like in day-to-day coding, what is the maximum size
So
we use?
so they use int. I'll explain the next part, but sort mostly will not use. Suppose you're going to use sort. Okay, so but you cannot extend this line number, line range. Okay, 32787. That means you should
Okay.
know your range. Suppose you know your range, like okay, I'm going to get a data something 2000 to 3000. Okay, that moment you can use sort. Suppose,
Mm-hmm.
but the programming language means every time they can ask you to change your range. So how can you use this sort? Correct.
Correct.
So it
Yeah.
means somebody asking to change your range, so you can get data now next time, 1 to 5000. So you cannot going to change your code. Okay, correct. You need to write something like it should be cover those all the range also. So that's I'm telling you, it's very rare to use this. And byte we used at the time of suppose file writing, file reading. So each byte stream we need to read. Okay, so all the byte stream will be at that moment we'll use byte data type most.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we'll use that would concept will come the later point. Later we'll discuss. But now uh, the next one is a int data type.
Into okay.
Okay, so that is the most important thing. Mostly all the programmer will use this int. So
Yes.
okay,
Correct.
so that size is a 4 byte.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is important. I'll tell you this is why I'm telling you. So the 4 byte. Okay, so the range is very high. Okay, so you can see minus 2 1 4 7 8 7 4 8 3 6 4 8 2 plus 2 1 4 7 4 8 3 6 4 7. Okay, so it's a high range we have,
Mm-hmm.
and that the size of 4 byte. Okay,
Yes.
so there's a so I'll tell you means suppose you writing somewhere, correct? Like one method you have it's means suppose you're not defining anything, that situation I'll tell you when it will come. Suppose you're not defining the data types. Okay, simply using something like a 20 30 40. Okay, So by default, the data type is will be int in Java.
Mm-hmm.
Remember this point. Okay.
Correct.
So by default, any variables, any integer variables, data type will be int. It's not like it cannot be short, it not be long, not be any other data type. It will be int.
Okay.
Okay. And then another point in C, uh, because of this only Java is a robust data type. Remember this also point. Why I'm telling you, in the C, suppose you're running the C language, okay, you have defined your int, okay. So that your program, C program language, C program, you're running in a 60-bit processor, any computer, okay.
Okay.
We have two types of uh, uh, processor, correct? 16 bit, and then another only 32 bits, correct? In C
Mm-hmm.
language, what happened now? Suppose you're running in a 16-bit processor, so int data type size will be 2 bytes, okay.
Okay.
But if you are running on a 32 bits, okay, then data type will be 4 byte in a C
Okay.
language. That is a problem. Is whenever moving your any platform, every day your size is going to change. Correct? There is a very difficulty. How can you changing every time changing? So sometimes your program get fail. Suppose I define this range. Okay,
Okay.
the compiler will take. Now I'm going to run in a 16-bit program, 16-bit computer. The 16 will accept
Mm-hmm.
only 2 byte. That means they will not support
Yeah.
that range. Correct?
Okay.
That means my program will get fail. Correct? I cannot do this
Mm-hmm.
range. So then my range should be stable. Means it should not like changing based on the processor. Suppose how programmer, how do you know that the program they going to the program they going to run the 16-bit or 32 bits, how they will come to know, correct? Anyway places they can
Mm-hmm.
run it. So
Yeah.
in Java what happened, once you define int, it's not going to change. It's a 4 byte only, whatever the processor you have. Suppose you have a processor like a 13-bit or 16-bit, it's not going to change. So that means the byte int will not going to change to 2 bit to 2 byte to 34 byte in Java.
Okay.
So that's why they call data type is a robust data type in any platform.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. This is the size of it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have another data types long. Okay. So so long will when it will come. Suppose your range is very high. It's not covering with the int data type. So that moment we'll use long data types. This also represent to integer only.
Yeah.
Okay. So uh, so the size is 8 byte. The range is very high. Means just
Yeah.
double to your int.
Yes. Correct.
Nothing else means. But it's not a default. Remember, I told you default only. Suppose you define somewhere 20. Okay, so your default data type will be int, not long.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's then we have another type of numeric data types that is called floating point. Okay, that is representing a floating number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so floating number, okay, means we have some decimal point, okay. So the
Yes.
first data type is a float data types, okay.
Okay.
So in float data type this is a uh, size will be 4 byte, the range is this one 3 point sorry minus 3.5 e38. So that means you know this concept, correct? This decimal point.
Deci- decimal. Yes.
Yes.
What does
So
E stands for here?
there's a means you have a multiple point, correct? That is a big one. So
Okay.
what they call in mathematics, I forget that. So there's a big range for this one. So Suppose you want to define the 5 or 5 to 6 decimal place of the accuracy, you should go for float. That is called single precision number. Okay, that point means suppose you have a point. Uh, uh, Suppose I have one number. Okay, like 1.13.01. That means I have a 201. Means after a point I have a two digit 0 and 1. That is called single precision. Okay, so that we can use in the float, and double precision will use the we have a different data types
Okay. Okay.
like this: float
Mm-hmm.
f 1.27 and float f 1.27 f. We can define f also. Okay, suppose so through f they will come to know this is a float type of data.
Okay. Okay.
And then next, we cannot do this, correct? Means we can define float as a integer values like a f equal to 20. I can define, there's no problem. Getting my point? So suppose a float I have written, then a f equal to 20 I'm defining. There is no issue.
Okay.
I can define. Okay, but I
Okay.
cannot do any true or false value. Values I cannot assign to float data types.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a double. Okay, so double is another. I told you double precision we can use for that. Okay,
Yeah.
and similar concept we have. Same. This is just what are the size we have in the float. It's just double of that float data types. So float is 8 bytes. For double we have a size like a 8. Sorry, float for we have a 4 bytes. For double we have a 8 byte size.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we can take like a double precision. As I told you, like uh, 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 suppose I'm defining like a 10.20, so that will come with a double precision 2020, so it will come. Okay, so see, getting my point. Should I explain more?
No, 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 no. That's fine. I mean, I'm aware of this.
Okay, okay. So for example we have a double 1.27, and then we can
Okay.
not define the true value, correct?
Yes. I know the basic concepts of this data types, but during the coding or the implementation, then we need to learn more there.
So we should be remember this way. When should you use these data types? So what?
Yeah,
Okay, and so
that is what we need to concentrate on more.
yes,
Like what context we will use int, what context we will use float, and what context we
yes,
will use like long or short.
yes, and this boolean data types we have. So remember this boolean data types. So uh, see, the for the boolean data we don't have a size. Okay, these all are dependent on the virtual machine. We cannot say what is the
Mm-hmm.
size for this. Okay, it's dependent on the boolean, sorry, virtual machine. Suppose a virtual machine running on the Mac, or a running on a Linux or any window, so we can say this what size is depend on the virtual machine. We cannot say what is the size. Okay, the range, we don't know about size, how we can define the size also, range also, correct? So it's depend upon completely virtual machine. So they will decide
Okay.
how much memory they're going to allocate. Okay, and this
Okay.
boolean type will take only true and false.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. It won't take any integer or any
Yes,
decimals. Yes.
yes, we cannot define this all. So then we have a character data types. Okay, so character data
Yes.
types will call. So remember this point is very important. Okay, uh, means mostly uh, we should know this about. So in C, what are the in C language? Whenever we defining our characters, okay, character data types, So our char are represent as a ASCII code, okay, with the 8 bits. 8 bits means 1 byte, like A, B, C, D, whatever we're defining, correct? This all will be represented as a ASCII code, okay, and they have a size is a 1 byte only. Remember, but in
Mm-hmm.
Java, we can we can use Unicode, which cover the all alphabetical set. The number of Unicodes is like a not more than the Unicode is not more than 256. Okay, so so what happened? The 1 byte is not enough to represent the all the alphabets. Okay, like I'm representing the other languages, Hindi, English, other languages, correct? So those languages I have to represent.
Okay.
So in that case, we need something. So who will represent? So we have a Unicode characters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Unicode characters cannot be more than 156. That means length is a 156. How we can cover 156 by a 1 byte? 1 byte what is range? 127 to 120. Sorry, 128 to 127. Correct. Minus 128 to 127. We cannot cover. Correct.
Okay.
So
Yes.
for that the size they are maximize. The size they increase that. That is a 2 byte. And ASCII code, what is the length? 99, I think 98. Till then ASCII code will represent. Okay. That's why they need a 1 bit, 1 byte. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but in Java, we're going to represent all other languages, all the alphabeticals. So that is a the total size is a 256 that we cannot handle by the 1 byte. As I told you, 1 byte means 128 to 127 minus 128 to 127.
Yes.
But in Java, we supporting the unique code characters. So that means we have one more extra byte.
Correct.
So size is 2 bytes and range 0 to 65535. Why is 0? Because character cannot be plus or minus sign, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it start from the 0.
Yeah. Got it.
Alright. So these are data types we have in as a primitive data types. Okay.
These are all primitive. So total how many? Eight.
So
Or...
so the first one byte, but then we have a sort, then we have a int, then we have a long, okay, then we have a float, then we have a double, then we have a boolean, then we have a char.
Yeah.
Total 8. Okay.
Yep. Just primitive data types of eight. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So char we can define like a single quote. Remember this one. We cannot define double quote. Okay. Double quote will belongs to string. We cannot write single quote. Okay. As one letter only. And we
Yes.
cannot like this char equal to 335, 235. Okay. We cannot assign to boolean and boolean variables also. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now we're going to learn about the literals. So remember that day we talk about the identifier, correct? So the constant value which is assigned to variables is called literal. So what are the
Mm-hmm.
values assigned? Like I created on values int x equal to 10. Okay, so my 10 is a literal as a integer literal. No problem. Don't think this a mostly will think what thing will think about a literal means some kind of a string language. String
Yes.
variables. It's not like that. We have a literal in a integer literal. We have a floating literal, boolean literal. Those also the literal. What are the values assigned to our variables?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like see this concept int x. So we have read this completely till now. Int, what is int we know, what is x we know, correct? And what is a 10 we know now. So see, this is a data type, correct?
Data
So
type variable.
The X is a keywords. Not keywords. This is a what? There is a identifier.
Okay.
Remember we talk about this X identifier.
We will define it as a variable, right?
Huh, that is a variable. Means I'm saying the what we have learned. That is a variable.
Yeah,
ID.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What we have learned is keyword,
So
yes.
yes. So that is a identifier we used, correct? And then
Mm-hmm.
we have a literal constant values. This 10.
Yes, yes, yes.
Correct. So we already run these all the things. Okay. And the types of literal and their default data types. Okay, we'll discuss this. I told you we have a different data types, integral, uh, literals. Okay, so what is the value we're going to assign to literals that we'll call? Uh, so I remember I told you the default is the int, correct?
Mm-hmm.
As I told you, the default what 20 I have written. Okay, I did not define any data types. So what will the default? Int. Okay, for the long,
Yes.
we have to define the suffix will be L, capital L or small l. We can do like C. X default was a int. 10 default is int. For long, 100 L or we can define. You getting my point?
Yes, yes, yes.
So why
Now,
I'm telling
what?
you? So this is very important. Remember, when we discuss on the overloading and overriding, that moment I'll tell you use of this uh, L and this. Remember this point. Why I'm telling you default. Suppose I did not give any um, prefix or suffix and just define a 10. So that is belongs to int data types. Okay, but I want to sorry, I want to make this 10 as a long. How can I do? I have to define suffix 10 L, capital L or small l. The 10 will behave
Mm-hmm.
like a this is a long data types.
Correct.
We'll use in this in coding purpose in the overriding and overloading times. That's I'm telling you. I'm forcing you. Remember this point. So we have suppose we have two methods. Okay.
Okay,
In one
okay.
method, I have two method. Add method. Add uh, integer a, integer b, and then I'm doing some operation. Okay. So what happen? I'm calling this method by my class. So I call add. I pass 10 and 20. Okay. So by
Mm-hmm.
default 10 and 20 is a int. So that method will call because that method type is also int a, int b. Suppose the my add method is a long a, long b. Okay, and my method is calling uh, 20 and 10. My class is calling. Okay, so that method will cannot call. Why? The method type is have a long.
Okay,
Okay, but
okay.
I'm passing. I'm passing 10 and 20. 10 and 20 belongs to int by default. So how can I call to long type of data, long of type of method? So in that moment, what I have to do? 10l, 20l. Then only we'll call this method.
Yeah.
You getting my point? So we'll discuss more about it at the
Okay.
time of the overloading and overriding. No issue. Just
Okay.
wanted to
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
So so now we have a floating point of literals. Okay. So same means nothing type. So all what are the literal types is the default as a double. In a floating in integer, what is our default? Int. But in floating, double is a default. Did you
Okay.
understand? So suppose I have one method like uh, add float a float b. I'm calling now calling this method add and passing 10.20 and another 20.20. Okay, that method will cannot call because in my method there is a type is a float, but default what is a floating type is a double. I cannot call, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So that moment what I have to change. I have to pass f 10.20 f 10.20 f. That means it belongs to float.
Mm-hmm.
You getting my point? So I have to make this
Yes.
method. If I'm not passing anything f or d, so it will think like this is a double only. The float variable is a double only, and but in method I have a float. They cannot be called, correct? They will say the method not found.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm not telling right now. I'm not that because this will come in the time of the overloading the method and overriding the method. So I'm just
Okay.
giving some idea when we're going to use.
Okay.
Okay, the floating point is the
Yeah.
remember this. For integer default is a int and floating default is a double. Nobody will talk about this. Is very important in the
Okay.
programming.
Okay.
So most of the time we
Yeah.
need an exception. Suppose I have written the method like a float and then I'm passing 10.0 to it will come like method not found. People will doesn't know this why it's not coming. They think why I am passing 10.20. There's a float only. Why it's not calling my method? Because floating point literal default is a double. It cannot call a float type of method. Passing that
Okay. If you're not mentioning anything, it will take default double. Okay.
yeah double it will take. Correct. Got it. And then we have a character literals. Okay. So you know
Mm-hmm.
this we have to define like a single code only as we discussed. Correct. So so single code we have to define. Okay. So remember the some rules also. Means rules means you cannot place suppose defining char a char ch equal to a single code. Okay, you cannot define two times single code a you cannot define, that is wrong. Okay, we have to be
Okay.
careful on that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
you can define a space. Suppose ch single quote space you can define, or you can define a one character, that is acceptable, but you cannot define more than one character. Okay,
Yep.
these are the rules. And then we have a last one, string literal. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so string literal is very straightforward. I think there's nothing need to discuss. Uh, like characters are placed in the double quote, you know this, consider as a string literal, mostly we'll use all use. So uh, I hope you remember I did not discuss string as a data type.
Yes.
Okay, string is not a primitive data types. Okay, the string is a class, a reference class. We'll discuss later, but it's not a primitive.
Okay.
Okay, that's why I did not discuss the set of the characters. That is a string. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that will define of the double quote. Single quote belongs to char. The strings belongs to double quote. Okay, and then we have
Okay.
this class in the java.lang package. We have this class. Okay, so like that we are defining that this belongs to string. Str
Okay.
equal to test, and we can do that through new object because it's a class only. Okay,
Okay.
so this is only for a data type. Okay, so